Hey, welcome to 100. Okay, take two on that. Gotta hit myself. Hey, welcome to a Awkwardly Awesome Podcast, episode 178. Yes, that's right, episode 178. Today's episode I can already feel it, that it's going to be magnificent. Check this out. My guest today reminds us that our lives can indeed change radically, and oftentimes we can play a vital role in that process. So that sounds good and like hype, right? But here's his actual story. Paul Fortune was born with cerebral 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 palsy. I keep saying that word wrong. Paul Fortune was born with cerebral palsy. His case was so severe that doctors told his mom that he would never be able to walk. Can you imagine that? Being a mom and taking your son to the doctor and hearing the words, your son will never be able to walk. But here's the fortunate part. What doctors didn't take into consideration, however, was that his mom had a much more optimistic perspective and saw to it that Paul was raised in a way that helped him create a new outcome and story for himself. Please welcome to Awkwardly Awesome Podcast, Paul Fortune.
Hey
Good morning,
Jason, how are
Paul.
you, my friend?
I'm really good. Wh- how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm excited that I am guest 178, my friend. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
He thinks I love podcasting, and it's an honor to have you as guest 178. Where 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 in the world are you this morning? Are you in Japan? Are you in Poland? Where are you?
I'm in Southern California, Long Beach, California.
What are a few things you love about Long Beach, California?
Well, the number one thing is the weather. The weather in Southern California is the best. I've been all over the nation, I've been international, and I haven't found a spot where I like the weather more than I like in Southern California. So if you like it around 70 or 80 degrees all year round, come to SoCal because that's your place to be.
I'm taking it that you don't miss snow.
Yeah, no, I'm not a person that likes the snow. I would have a hard time if I lived in New York or Boston, where I would have to shovel snow to get my car out. That's just not for me. I mean, I will do it if I have to do it, but that would not be my number one choice to be.
You really intentionally chosen where in the world you want to live.
Well, I was fortunate to be born in Southern California, but yeah, I mean, I bought a condo here and I put up roots here, and I love it. I love it here. I've developed a great business. I've grown friendships and all kinds of good stuff. So I love the city of Long Beach. I love the Southern California. I love the LA area.
Ta- I'm talking to you so far. I we have a thread of conversation here that we could go down talking about Southern California and talking about business now and comparing it to different places in the United States. And and, and I would never know from anything about the conversation that you have an incredible, miraculous backstory.
I do.
How 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 often do we humans just talk to one another and think, "Oh, I kind of know that person," and but then we don't hear like the incredible parts of the story.
That's one of the things I love about a podcast, right? Because we get into those subjects on a podcast. If we were to meet for, to your point, Jason, if we were to meet for coffee, we probably wouldn't go down this road. But since we're doing on a podcast and we have a platform, we're going to go down that road. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's why you're doing this great podcast, Awkwardly Awesome podcast.
So speaking of going down that road, let's start at the beginning. What happened from your understanding at the beginning of your life?
So you read through my bio that I suffer from cerebral palsy. So basically, when I was born, I wasn't moving the right side of my body very much, and naturally, my mom was very concerned about that. So that's why she took me to the doctors, because she's like, "Why is Paul not moving the right side of his body very much?" And that's when I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And this first doctor, said the cerebral palsy that I suffered from was so severe that I would never ever be able to walk. And when I got to a certain age, it would be a good idea to get me in a wheelchair, because that was going to be my life going forward. Well, I've had a lot of conversations with my mom about that. And naturally, when she heard that news, she was devastated. She was thinking to herself, what was going to be the life of her baby boy? How hard of a life for her baby boy. She cried herself to sleep. But the next morning, when she woke me up to start the day, she said I gave her a look. Now, I can't talk at this point in time. I'm an infant. But she said I gave her a look. A look if to say, Mom, do not let this be my story. I want to walk. And that mama bear inside of her started raging. She got a second opinion, a third opinion, a fourth opinion, a fifth opinion. Finally found a physician willing to help. And with this physician's help and me doing physical therapy 5 to 6 times a week, I was walking
You said
between
5
2 and
to
3.
6 times a week?
5 to 6 times a week I was doing physical therapy. Yep, for probably a couple hours a day. Yep. And as a result,
How old were you at this point?
I was around I was from an infant doing physical therapy all the way to, I probably did physical therapy through a clinic, probably from when I was an infant all the way to when I was 8. But the intense part of it was, early on, getting the muscles working to be able to walk. So with that help, I was walking between age 2 and 3, a feat that 4 of the doctors said I wasn't going to walk, but I was walking. And which was a wonderful thing. But at the time when I was starting to walk, I didn't walk as well as the other kids. I was put into soccer roughly when I was about 5 years old. And at the time, I could run a little bit, but I could probably only run about 25 to 50 yards before my leg would give out. So while I was playing soccer, kids were playing soccer around me while I'm just basically standing there and getting teased. And I remember one day after practice, I was going to go to my mom and tell my mom, I don't want to play soccer more. I'm not having fun. I don't like this. The whole bit. I'll remember what my mom told me that day, because it's held true to me to this very day. She said, Paul, if you don't want to play soccer anymore, that is okay. But you need to honor your commitments. So you need to finish out that soccer season. And if you don't want to play soccer after that, that is your prerogative. And I'm 43 years old. I haven't played soccer since that time when I was 5 years old, but I honored my commitment. I finished out that soccer season. But I got a big break right after that soccer season. I got surgery on my right foot to tighten up the tendon, to give me a little bit more spring in my step, and basically to take away the pain I was feeling when I ran. And this surgery, I didn't know at the time, but knowing now, that surgery was an absolute game changer. After I did my rehab and got the cast off from the surgery, I switched schools. I was probably about first grade at the time. I'll never forget my first day of physical education, PE, in this new school. We did our stretches, and the teacher says, "Okay, guys, run a lap." And I'm thinking to myself, here we go again. I'm going to run 25 to 50 yards. My leg's going to give out. These kids are going to see that, and they're going to start to tease me again. But because of the surgery, it was different. I remember saying to myself, "Come on, Paul. You got this, bud. Keep going, keep going, keep going." And I passed that point where I normally have to stop, but I kept going. And I finished the lap with the other kids. On the outside, I kept it cool. But on the inside, I was like, yes, 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 yes. It was the first time in my young life where I fit in. I didn't stand out. I was just one of the kids. And it felt so good. And things did get easier for me because of that surgery. No question about it. But I wouldn't consider it easy. When I was about 5th or 6th grade, my parents decided to get a divorce. And so I had to switch schools around that time. And that's a tough age to switch schools at. Kids are becoming teenagers. They're becoming, going through hormonal changes. And at this time, they're not the nicest people in the world because they're just going through a lot of stuff during that time. So just being a new kid alone is going to be tough. But I'm a new kid who walks with a little bit of a limp and holds his right arm differently. So it was even tougher for me. Couldn't break into the school. Bullied, teased, spit on, tackled, you name it, they did it to me. And Jason, I come from this old school mentality where you didn't squeal, you didn't tattle. So I kept all this pain inside of me. And I'm crying myself to sleep most nights going, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why can't I just be like every other kid? I don't know what came over me, Jason, but the start of 8th grade, I was just sick and tired of all this pain and bullying going on. I thought, what could I do to change this? Because my go-to emotions at the time were sadness and anger. And I knew deep down those weren't my go-to emotions. So I thought, how could I change that? And I thought, what if I started to set a goal for myself? And at the time I loved baseball.
What if you started what?
What if I started a goal for myself? So I thought, well, what could my goal be? And at the time I loved baseball. So I said, well, what if I tried to make my varsity baseball team in high school? So I started playing fall ball, winter ball, spring ball. And if I wasn't doing that, I was throwing a tennis ball against the wall. I was doing this constantly. While I'm going through this journey, a coach comes to me and says, Paul, man, you play a lot of baseball. Do you have any goals with this? And at the time, I didn't want to tell him that my goal was to make my varsity baseball team because I thought he'd laugh at me. But he kept asking me that question. And one day, he caught me at a weak moment. And I blurted out, I want to make my varsity baseball team. And I like, oh, crap. I can't believe I just said this to him. I thought he was going to laugh at me, but he didn't. He paused for a second. And he said, that's doable. I'm like, what? That's doable? He goes, it's absolutely doable, Paul. But you have to have other people keep you accountable for this goal. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Other people keep me accountable. And he goes, after practice tomorrow, you're going to go in front of the team and you're going to tell the team your goal is to make the varsity baseball team in high school. And I'm like, no. These kids just started to accept me. And if I tell them something like that, they're going to start laughing at me again. And he said, Paul, there's going to be times when you're going through this goal where you're not going to feel it. And you're going to need your teammates to pull you up and push you forward when you don't feel it. So they need to know your goal. So I reluctantly said, okay, I'll do it. And the next day after practice, I'm shaking. I am absolutely shaking. And I tell the team that I want to make my varsity baseball team. And they didn't laugh at me either. they clapped. And I know this now. I didn't know this when I was going through this, but I started to send a different energy out towards kids. I started gaining more confidence in myself. I had my shoulders up, my head back. And as a result of this new energy I was sending out to these kids, they started sending me a different energy back. Instead of bullying and teasing me, they started rooting for me. So my high school career was much, much different than my middle school career, all because of the way I carried myself. And that alone is the win. But the cherry on top was I was able to make my varsity baseball team as a junior and a senior. In my senior year, I pitched a 3-hit shutout. They pour the Gatorade on me, and I felt so alive. I felt so good about myself. It was a tremendous, tremendous feeling that I had. But while I was going through this journey, back up for a second. When I was in high school, when I was supposed to go to high school, I was supposed to go to Catholic high school. And I had to take assessment tests to see where they were going to place me when I got to high school. So when I took the test, I must have bombed it, because when I met with the principal and I met with my mom, the principal tells the both of us that she's going to put me at the lowest level possible, and she doesn't expect much from me. I do not seem like I'm going to be college material. So
She's going to put you in the local what?
The lowest level, the lowest level education, because apparently I wasn't smart enough, and she thought that I was not going to be college material. She told me and my mom straight up that I'm not college material. So I had that in my head throughout high school. I wasn't that great of a student. I just did enough to stay eligible to play baseball, and that was it. Because I'm thinking to myself, what's the point? I'm not college material. Why waste my time? Just concentrate on baseball. Just stay eligible and move on with yourself. So my grades weren't very good. And when I graduated high school, I started to think about the goal that I set for myself that I was able to accomplish about making my varsity baseball team. And I thought, why don't I set another goal for myself to say that I am college material? So I enrolled into a junior college because I was the only place that would accept me at the time. I got myself a math tutor. I went to the math lab. I got myself an English tutor. I had all kinds of tutors just because I wasn't that great in school. But with all this hard work that I was putting in, I was able to take my barely a 2.0, if not lower, that I had in high school, all the way to a 3.5, where I was able to transfer to a 4-year university, graduate, and become college material. And I so wanted to go back to that principal and say, see, you were wrong. Was college material. But I thought about that. And in the end, I probably should thank her. The reason why I should thank her, because all through college, all I heard in my head was, you're no good. You're not college material. You're not smart. And my next thought was, I'll show you I am. I'll show you I'm college material. So that motivation got me through college. So I should thank her for that. And I graduated.
Well, that's really interesting because you had the same experience with the principal that your mom had with the doctor who said you wouldn't walk.
You know, Jason, I've never thought about that until this moment in time. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I did not accept her diagnosis, and I got my own opinions. And you're absolutely right. I never saw the correlation there, but you're right. I did exactly what my mom did. She still is a great role model in my life, and I took her lead on that. So,
and sometimes, I mean, taking your young son to a doctor and hearing the same thing over and over again, it had to be like on the second doctor and the third doctor and the fourth doctor. It had to be heart-wrenching each time, but your mom somehow had faith that if she kept going, she would get a different answer. Has she ever talked about why she she kept taking you to doctors and then just accept it?
Yeah, yeah. We've had many conversations about that. And I asked her, was there a number in your head that she was going to stop at? And she said, absolutely not. She said there was something in me that was telling me that you're going to walk, and I wasn't stopping until you were walking. Was not going to stop. I was going to go wherever I had to go. She said, I'll travel around the world to find answers, but you were going to walk one way or another. A little emotional about that, but I owe a lot to my mom and her hard work for me as a person. I can't say enough great things about my mom.
She had a vision. She had a goal, and she wasn't going to stop until she found a way to make that go into reality.
Yeah, she was not stopping, and till this day she's still my biggest cheerleader in life. So yeah, I mean, so it's just something to think about with your viewers. I mean, with the medical field, a lot of times we feel like the medical field, that's the end all be all, right? That they know the answers. But if you think about the medical field, it's science, right? And science is all about experiments and hypotheses and getting a better answer every time. There's no absolute answer in science and in the medical field. There's always improvements, and that's what it's all about. So if you get some sort of diagnosis, please just don't stop with that. Get other opinions. There's other avenues. Don't stop until you exhausted every single thing.
That's a brilliant point as lay people, as non scientists. I mean, we often think of science as containing these absolutes, but you're right. Science is a constant process of experimenting and trying new things, and it's always in flux.
Yeah, it is. It
A
is.
good point.
Yeah. And so the most powerful thing that you have is your mind and your mindset and how bad do you want it. Because if you want it bad enough, I firmly believe if you believe you will achieve, but you got to put in the work. You got to keep going. There's going to be the matter your goal, whatever goal you set for yourself, there's going to be times in your goal where it is going to be gut wrenching. It's going to be hard. You're going to wake up going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to move forward. There's all of us have these days. We're human beings. We have it. But in the back of your mind, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough? If you want it bad enough, you'll push through those bad times.
I can counter argument. Someone watching may say, "But Paul, I will really want it badly, but I just don't know what to do next. I've tried everything. I've made many attempts, Paul, but I just end up in the same place." What would you tell someone who's in that boat?
There's there's a great book called Growth Mindset. We have there's a growth mindset and a flat mindset, right? A flat mindset is basically you go into a situation and it's hard, and you start to doubt yourself. Well, I've exhausted everything. I did, you start going through this. And believe me, I've done this. I'm not saying anything I have not done. I have. I've had that flat mindset where where it's like there's no use. I can't try this. Having a pity party, right? There's another mindset called the growth mindset, where you come up with a problem and you don't know the answer, but you say to yourself, I don't know the answer, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try. I'm going to figure. I'm get the try out. I'm going to do what I have to do to figure it out. And if you really challenge yourself, if you really, really challenge yourself, ask yourself this question. If you say to yourself, I've done everything I can. Really challenge yourself to say, is that really true? Have you done everything is there anything you can't do? Is there something you haven't tried yet? And I know on the few occasions that might be true, Jason, but I would say majority of the time there is things that you haven't tried yet that you can try. And it goes another thing too is people set these goals where they're all about result based. And that's cool. I mean, yeah, I mean we want to have good results. But I would say what's more important than the result is the actual journey. You got to love the journey of it. Because if you hate this journey that you're on to get to your goal, it's going to be that much easier for you to give up because on a good day you're going to have some bad times, right? So if you hate what you're doing through the journey, really do some soul searching and say, is this something I really want? Because if it's only about the result, it's going to be really hard to get. And even if you do get it, let's say that you accomplished this goal, but you hated the journey going through it. How long are you going to be happy that you hit the result? You know, let's just say you hit a milestone in your business or whatever, right? How long are you going to be happy? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be a day? How long are you going to be happy? Right? It's not sustainable. So, but if you enjoy the journey of it, you enjoyed every day of it, then you can look back and go, oh boy, wasn't that great? Wasn't that fun? I mean, I understand it's not every day is fun, but you should enjoy it. You should enjoy what you're doing. You're building something. When you look at kids, right, and they're building their Legos, right? They're having the most fun when they're actually building something, right? They may have fun showing their parents or their siblings after they built it, but when they're having the most joy is when they're actually doing it, when they're in the moment of building. And that's what we need to do. We need to be in the moment of it, enjoying the moment because the past is gone and the future's not guaranteed. All we have right now is right now.
Speaking of enjoying the journey, you and I don't want to gloss over this because it's when you said this, I'm like, wow. But starting at age two, two, did you say that starting at age 2, you did 2 hours of physical therapy a day, right?
From when I was an infant to roughly when I was 8 years old, 5 to 6
So
times a
even
week.
before age 2, like before you could even crawl?
Correct. That was the only way I was going to be able to walk. Is if it was immediate. Once we got with that physician that was willing to help us, it was on. It was on. It was hard work. I mean, the cool thing. I don't know if I should say the cool thing, but the thing that I don't remember much of that. You know, right? I mean, I just know that my mom was making me do these exercises. You know, constantly doing these exercises. Now, when I got a little bit older, I remember doing these exercises and being like, I don't got to do this. And she's like, this is only going to pay off for you, Paul. It's only going to pay off for you in the end. And so, you know, thank goodness my mom kept me going. She was very much
How many
accountable.
months how many months old do you think you were when you started physical therapy?
I would say about 2 or 3 months old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So once you got old enough to know what was going on, with a lot of kids, if an adult says, hey kid, we're going to do exercises for 2 hours a day, a lot of kids would be like, no. How did your mom and your therapist make this palatable to you?
Well, you know, when you're doing it that young, you don't know any better, right? I mean, that was the routine. You know, like when you get a little bit older, especially when you become a teenager and you have different experiences and you do stuff like that, you have that mindset. Oh, well, I don't want to do that, but I I was brought up that that's what I had to do. You know what I mean? That's when I got up in the morning, I had a routine, and that was what it was. So I really, at that point in time, I really didn't complain about it because it was just set in my head. And I think that if most kids were in that situation, they'd probably be in the same boat, is because it was just grain in. When I get up, I do X, Y, and Z exercise. I go there, I go in the pool, I do this, I do that. It's just my routine.
It, that's interesting because as adults, when we're trying to cultivate a new routine, it's often like we don't think, oh, this is just my routine now. We often think of 20 other reasons why we shouldn't be doing it, or why doing something else would be more fun, and we really distract ourselves from our intention of creating a routine.
Yeah,
What would you say to help people with that?
yeah, routines are tough. They need to be built. I would say that whether it's starting a new job, starting a new career, starting your own business, all kinds of stuff. And when you start something new, or a gym routine, whatever it is, it takes time to build habit. So if I would say that when you're starting something new, you got to give it a few months of doing the routine over and over and over again, right? And after you hit a few months of it, then you can say, okay, you know what, this is not for me. I gave it a good go. Or you're starting to enjoy it, and it becomes part of your, like I said, part of my routine from what it was when I was a kid, right? It just, that's what we do. That it's built into your head that it's a routine. But it takes habit. You have to build habit to it. You can't just do it for a week and say, okay, it's not sticking. No, you got to do it for a few months before it starts sticking and becoming a routine or a good habit.
People probably went into that a lot with New Year's resolutions. They're like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to do the thing," but then they do it for a week, and it's not quite what they want, so they don't do it. But you're saying give it a few months of consistent effort.
Yeah, and then and you're talking about New Year's resolutions and goals that you set. You mentioned New Year's resolutions, so let's tackle that for a minute. I don't mind New Year's resolutions. I think they're fine. I think that if you want to set something, it's a new year, you want to set something up. I think that's cool. I don't think you should have to wait for the new year to set goals. I think you should be able to set them anytime. But a lot of people like to set
That's a
goals.
good point. You don't have to wait for the new year to set a goal. That's good.
Exactly, exactly. And so you go through this routine, and let's just say, you set a New Year's resolution that you're going to eat a certain way. You're going to have a cleaner diet, so to speak, right? And you're going well for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then you're in a situation where you're with your family or you're with your friends, and you end up in a situation where you may eat fast food, right? And you may beat yourself up for that because you had the fast food, and you're like, oh, okay, well, it's over. I messed up, so I'm just going to keep going with what my diet was before my resolution. And what I would say to that person is, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Say to yourself, you know what? I needed fast food that day. I just needed it. I was with my friends. I wanted to eat it, and it's no big deal. I'm praising myself for 2 weeks of great eating. I had one bad day. You know what? I was rewarding myself, and tomorrow I'll make another decision. I'll go back to how it was. But you know what? I'm not going to beat myself up for having the fast food. Big deal. I did it. Whatever. I'll move on. I think that sometimes we beat ourselves up for messing up. But you know what? We're all human beings. Give yourself some grace and say, you know what? Hey, I needed the fast food. Big deal. No big deal. Let's move forward.
You speak this not only because you do this in your own life. you help young golfers develop practice routines, right? Can you
Yeah, high
talk
school.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, high school athletes a lot in golf. Yeah, so because of my background of the baseball and golf being such a mental sport, anybody who plays golf knows how mental it is and how easy it is to get into funk. And if your swing's off by just a little bit, it could really affect yourself and affect your self esteem. And so it's a mental sport. And it's a good segue because it goes back to grace. I have these kids give themselves grace. I think sometimes they're a little hard on themselves on, oh, I was 20 feet from the cup and I wanted to be 15. And it's like, look at perspective here. You know what? You still have an opportunity to make your birdie or make your par and everything like that. I get it, and it's not exactly where you wanted to hit, but you know what? We got to make do with the situation, and that's it within life. You know what? Life isn't perfect, and sometimes we got to make do with what we have and make that work, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, I've developed a curriculum for high school and college athletes, not on the actual sport, on the mindset, on goal setting and being accountable and giving themselves grace and actively listening to what they're saying. It's just been a great journey for me, and I've developed some great relationships with some wonderful people as a result.
Sounds awesome. Could you break down I mean, a lot of people talk about mindsets from various angles. What do you, Paul Fortune? You have an amazing last name, Fortune. What do you, Paul Fortune, mean when you say you're helping someone develop that mindset?
I think for me and my main goal with working with high school and college athletes is to instill confidence in them. They have greatness inside of them. Everybody, all of us have greatness inside of us. So for me, it's up to me to pull it out of them, to have them realize the greatness that they have inside of them. And I think that's what I mean by mindset is to feel good about yourself right now, not not feel good about yourself tomorrow or yesterday. Feel good about yourself right now, having the happiness inside of you, and not be defined on a bad day, a bad round, a bad meeting, a bad presentation. That doesn't define you as a human being. We're way more complex than that, and you have so much to offer, and that's what it's all about is bringing out that confidence, because I feel like if people have more confidence in themselves, they'll perform better in their personal lives, they'll perform better in their professional lives, and they'll live an all around better life if they feel better about themselves. And that's what I mean by mindset.
What would you say to someone listening who might say, "But Paul, I'm just," mm, I, someone might be thinking, "But Paul, you don't know me. I'm just not a confident person. It's not the way I am." What would you say to them?
I would say to them, I would ask them a question. I'd ask them what in their life is going well. What's going well? Is it I woke up with a roof over my head? Is it that I like my car? Is it that I have a good family? Is it that I have this beautiful shirt, yellow shirt I'm wearing? There is always something to look forward to or something going well in their life. And I'll tell you this, the more that we train our mind to look for the positive, our mind will be like, oh, Paul wants positive. Let's show him positive, because it's the opposite way, right? The more you think negative, that your mind's going to be like, oh, Paul likes to see negative. Let me show him negative. So the more we can train our mind to look for the positive, the better it's going to be. But it's got to be a want. If the people that I'm working with are going to be like, well, but yeah, but yeah, but yeah, but Nothing's going to change. Nothing will ever change because that is not the growth mindset. That's the flat mindset. And we all live our lives and we all have choices to make, and that's fine. But the only way that change is going to happen is if you train your mind to look for the good.
So you really help. I keep getting this image when you say flat mindset of a flat tire. And you really help your clients inflate the tire of the brilliance. I don't know. You'll have to work with that, but
I like that. But you know how I look at it, and this is kind of similar to what you're saying is, and this is how I explain it to the people I work with. Let's just say and like I said, it's similar. So you're a vehicle, right? And you're driving around the highway, and you're burning fuel, right? Think of me as that fuel station. When we get together, I'm putting the fuel back in you, so you're back at a full tank. So okay, now I'm ready to go back into it. I'm ready to drive around. I'm ready to do what I need to do. I'm that fuel station that helps give them that fuel that they need to keep moving forward, to keep going.
that's a really good way of looking at it. A good analogy. That's great. So it sounds like when you coach young athletes, you're not just focused on them winning the championship or becoming the most valuable player. What would happen if you only focus with them on achieving great results?
It's more than just achieving, MVP or whatever it is. It's more. It's life skills. I want to teach them life skills. Life, as you know, Jason, you and I both know, life is not easy. Life is very, very hard, and life can be very, very unfair. And the goal with that is to not allow that to define these bad moments to define you as a human being, because a lot of these kids are going to go on to have families, to start careers, go into college, graduate college, do their thing, right? And they're going to have negative things that happen to them. But what I would love for them to say is, well, you know what, Coach Paul told me this is what, to give myself grace in this situation, to look at the perspective here. Well, yeah, this sucks that I have a flat tire, but you know what? At least I'm not hurt. At least I have AAA that I can call, or at least I can call my buddy, or I can change my own tire. I can handle this. Having that perspective that things aren't as bad as it seems. And that's the thing that I want to instill with these kids is these kids and me, everybody, we get in these ruts sometimes where we doubt ourselves. And those are just beliefs. They don't have to be your reality. You could say to yourself, you know what? I choose not to believe that. I'm not going to believe that. And then another belief can come in and you could say, you know what? I believe in that. I want to do that. We have that choice. And that's what I want to instill with them. We have a choice. You don't have to. Our mind can be a horrible thing with these horrible thoughts. But the trick is being aware that they're just thoughts. They don't have to be your reality. I don't know if that answered your question, but
so you said three. No, more than three. Four great words that you want to help your the students you coach to internalize. I can handle it. I can handle it.
mm-hmm.
I don't always have to be the absolute best. Life doesn't always have to go perfectly, but whatever, I can handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Yes, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Whatever comes through, I'll find a way. And that goes back to that growth mindset. I will find a way to get through it, and that's the thing is like with these kids, with me, with everybody, we have these goals, and sometimes things don't go the way we want them to go. But sometimes these goals will catapult us to places that we wouldn't have been if we didn't set these goals. So we look at that perspective. I had some clients that were into golf, and they realized that weightlifting is really where they wanted to go, and they didn't realize that because they started doing weightlifting training to help them hit the ball further, and they started to realize, you know what, I like weightlifting more, and now we're going towards weightlifting because that's where they're going, and we're setting goals for weightlifting, and I think that health helps with the mental health, so I'm all for it. So it's just great that you look at these goals, you have these goals that kind of give you kind of direction, but don't be so fixated on that result, because that when you go down in a direction, it might take you somewhere that you never thought you would go unless you set that goal, and that's okay. That's part of life, to be able to pivot, to reroute yourself when you see something that's going to be better for you.
So we talked earlier some about how consistency is important at the beginning to try a routine, like try it for 2 months.
Mhm.
What's the balance between consistency and following a goal, and also flexibility to say, oh, I thought I liked golf, but I actually like weightlifting.
Well, I mean, like for these kids, they were doing golf for a few years, so and they still play golf. They're still really good golfers, but their focus is more on weightlifting than it is on golf. I mean, they're still on the high school golf team and they're still doing the golf, but their focus more is now on the weightlifting, um, and I just feel like that's just a case by case basis. Like you just have to have that talk with yourself inside, going, um, have did I give it all that I got? Is this really where I want to go? And I feel like when you trust your gut and you trust your heart, the answer will come to you. And and that's where I come into play. Is I try to pull it out of them. I feel like my whole goal with this is not to tell them what to do, not to give them advice. My goal is, my mindset is, they have the answers inside of them. It's up to me to get it out of them, because it's so much more powerful when it comes from their mind than it comes from mine. I could say something all day long and it might not stick because it didn't come from them, it came from me. But when it comes from them, it comes from their mind, their heart, their soul, then it's so much more powerful.
To do that, you must be a great listener. How did you learn to listen well?
Well, going back to my story as a kid, um, when I was in middle school, I really didn't have any friends. Was sitting alone at lunch, kind of a loner, and I realized this during that time, that if I ask a person questions about themselves, they'll talk. So I just kept asking questions about other people and them. And so I started to gain this skill of listening and asking questions and having people talk to me. And as a result of this skill, I developed friendships in high school, and then on. I have many friends, and it stems from listening. I mean, it's funny, as um, when I'm working with clients, and they'll ask me questions about my life or whatever, and I'll answer them. But you know, they don't have to. Like, we're there to help them. But I'll be in other situations where I'll be talking with somebody at a um, conference or whatever, and I'll be asking them questions, and they'll answer the questions and this and that, and they'll walk away going, "Oh yeah, Paul's a great guy." And somebody else can go, "Oh, why is Paul a great guy?" And they'll be like, "I don't know," because they didn't ask one question about me, but because I was able to have them talk, I developed a rapport with them, and they didn't even know why they liked me. But the reason why they liked me was because I was actively listening to what they were saying.
It's really well said. So you have a Facebook group called Rewrite Your Story.
Yeah, I have. Sorry.
What do you love about that Facebook group?
Well, it's a group of people all over the world, and we come together with the concept of taking back a pen and writing the story that you want for yourself, not for anybody else, but for yourself, because it's your story to write and your story to write alone. So in this group, we allow space where people can share their stories with no judgment, only support. We actually have virtual meetups once a month where we allow space where people can share what's been going on, and we don't judge, we just support. And a lot of times we'll bring in a speaker. This month here, we're bringing in a speaker that helps women and to not judge yourself when you get to a certain age. You get certain age, and not just women but men too, where sometimes you lose your confidence in yourself because you're not as young as you once were. You weren't able to do what you once were able to do, and to give you that confidence that you still can do so much. And if you want to go back to what you want to do before, there's ways to doing it. You don't need to give up on yourself. There's always a way back. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. So yeah, so it's a great group of people. I invite everybody. It's called Rewrite Your Story. Please come in.
So speaking of rewriting your story, you went from in your life, you went from a doctor saying you would never walk and telling your mom to buy a wheelchair to making your varsity baseball team. And not only that, you said you pitched a no. Did you say you pitched a no hitter?
A 3-hit shutout. So I didn't give up a run.
So first of all, what was the day like when you made the varsity baseball team?
It was great. I mean, it was basically I was on the JV. It was junior year. I was on the JV team, the junior varsity team, and the varsity coach comes up to me and goes, "We have an injury of some sort, and we'd like to move you up for tomorrow's game." And I'm like, "This is great." I mean, I really didn't get too much playing time. I mean, I really didn't play too much my junior year. I did. I got a few hits and pitched a few innings, but I played enough innings to be able to register that I played varsity ball my junior year, and then my senior year, I became an integral part of the pitching staff. And it was all because of the hard work that I put in, and for my teammates. My teammates really helped me out. I mean, they challenged me. I mean, it wasn't lollipops and sugar cane. If I wasn't feeling it, they would push me, man. They would keep me going, man. I mean, they were great people. They gave me some tough love sometimes when I needed it, and I'll never forget them.
So before they were making fun of you, and then suddenly, instead they were inspired by your goal and inspired to challenge you. Can you describe how your energy shifted at all between those 2 points?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was playing a lot of baseball at the time. I was playing it all year round, like as I told you, and so the kids would see that, like they would see, like I would come to practice early, I would leave practice later, because I wasn't as good of an athlete as a lot of these other kids, so I had to put a little bit more time in than they did just to get to their level, just the way it was. So I think after a while of consistently seeing that I was putting in the time, um, I think they started to realize, hey, man, this Paul kid, he's putting a lot of work in. Maybe we were a little hard on him. Maybe we should get to know him a little bit. And as a result of that, that's when that kind of shift had happened. Um, kind of the baseball team kind of took me under their wing a little bit. So when I hit high school, and I'd have people outside of the baseball world, maybe bullying me or challenging me a little bit, the baseball team would be right there going, "No, you're not talking to Paul that way. No, not happening. He's our teammate. Not going to happen." So it was nipped in the bud pretty quick in high school, where Paul was part of the baseball team, and you weren't messing with Paul because he was protected by the baseball player. So that's probably where it stood from. And then as a result of that rapport I had with the baseball team, it bled over to other people that didn't play baseball, and other relationships that I had in high school, because of that, and it gave me the confidence to talk to people and develop relationships that I wasn't able to when I was in middle school. And again, it goes back to that mindset.
And then what was it like to graduate from college after having what you having results, academic results in high school, and the principal saying what they said? What was it like to walk across the stage and take your diploma?
It's funny is, like, you get into the the moment of going to college and doing what you had to do to get to college and everything like that, and then having those thoughts about your principal telling you that you weren't college material, and then you graduating college, and then you start to reflect on the journey that you did to get to that goal of the tutoring and the work that you put in doing it. I had a private moment from with myself where I, shed a few tears of joy, and I bought a hat. Um, I went to Cal State Fullerton. I bought a hat, and I have this hat today. It's my lucky hat, and I said it was a prize to myself when I graduated college that I would have this hat, and if I had a bad day or whatever, I would look at that hat and it would remind me of how far I've come. So I still have that hat to this day. And when I have a bad day, I look at that hat and go, okay, I remember that. I remember those bad days. I remember it, and you were able to get through them. So it was a special time. So thank you for asking me that question.
Hmm. Inspiring. So we're coming to the end of our time here, but I ask every guest this. I talk in my work about the power of doing our imperfect best. And what it means to me is we envision the best we want for our own lives and what we want to give the world. And when mistakes happen, when obstacles happen, when misunderstandings happen, instead of throwing up our hands, we learn from all that and make amends when we need to and keep moving forward. What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Paul Fortune?
I feel for me, is enjoying the moment now. I
Mm,
think it's so important. People say I want to be happy. Well, the only way you're going to be happy is if you're happy now. I mean, like I've said before, the past is gone, the future's not guaranteed. All we have is right now, so we might as well enjoy the moment. I think sometimes we get in our heads and we bulldoze the present because we're thinking about the past, we're thinking about the future, which is understandable. We have families to take care of, we have bills to pay, we have responsibilities. So understand that that's important, but it's also important to enjoy the now, to take the time to enjoy the moment. One thing that I like to do for myself that helps me do that is if I take a walk, I always smell the flowers. Literally smell the flowers. If I pass by somewhere that there's flowers, I always smell the flowers because it reminds me to take time for the now.
And you live in, so we come full circle. You live in Long Beach, California, so there are flowers all year round. It would be a much less useful practice in South Dakota, only available from May through September. So
Yep, that's
it's
true.
awesome that you live.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. I have that situation, but if I lived in South Dakota where we have the winters, there would be something that I could look forward to as well. I mean, I've
Um,
gone to South Dakota before, and I've gone to Wyoming, and I've went there in the wintertime, and there's some beautiful sights uh, out those ways in the wintertime. Yeah, it's very very cold. It's not something that I enjoy as much, but I've been there in those times for various conferences and stuff, and I can appreciate the beauty of it. So even if you don't live in Southern California, you live somewhere else, there's still beauty in where you live.
Thanks for making that point because it's crucial that there's beauty everywhere. Thanks, that's important. And and what's the best way for people to connect with you?
The easiest way to get in touch with me is probably through my website. It's a call to action.coach. You can set up an appointment to talk to me there. I'm pretty open guy. I give out my cell phone because I come from a sales background, so I don't really care if people have my cell phone. So on my website, I have my cell phone on there. So if you want to give me a call and set up an appointment that way, that's perfectly fine. On my website, I have a ebook on how you can rewrite your own story and how I was able to rewrite your story. And it's absolutely free. You can just click on it and get it and read it, and give me the feedback on it if you like.
So a call to action dot coach, and
Yep.
you spell
Yeah,
out the word coach, right?
yeah, spelled out coach. The letter A, call, CALL, uh, a call to, and then the TO, and then action, dot coach.
COACH.
Yep.
Good. I'm glad I spelled coach right. That's good. Thank you for being part of the awkwardly awesome podcast and having a conversation with me. As we said, these conversations are building. There's 178 now, and I'm glad you're part of this conversation. So thank you, my new friend. Appreciate it.
Hey, Jason, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I had a lot of fun talking to you. You're a real good interviewer, so thank you for your time.
So 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 Paul was introduced to me by by someone who reached out on LinkedIn and just asked if I wanted to chat. I've talked to Paul once before in my life over Zoom for half an hour, and then we had that conversation. I say this to encourage you to keep thinking of who else you can meet and looking for opportunities. There's probably closer to 8 billion people in the world now, and none of us know them all, or even a tiny fraction of them. So let's keep exploring and meeting new people, because new people have wisdom, new people are fun, new people provide friendship, and everyone has some a story with some brilliance in it, and then some challenges that are trying to overcome to make that story even better, even more what they want, not better, even more what they want. It's also exciting. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tune in for another awkwardly awesome podcast next Wednesday. Talk to you later.